Hello, my friends. Welcome to Lindy's Magpie Reads. So, this is a special episode of Friday Reads. This is where I talk about the books that I finished in the past week. But I'm going to do something totally radical for me, and I'm going to try and make 2 videos within just a few days, because in this video, I want to focus on the graphic novels that I've read. Over the past couple of months, I have been reading as many of the Eisner nominated titles as possible, and the winners are going to be announced on July 25th, so it is coming up soon. So all graphic novels in this episode, and then the other books I hope to get posted on Sunday. So we'll see how that works. I am going away next week. I'm going to be getting together with all my siblings at the farm where we grew up. So I don't know what's going to be happening with videos during that time, but before I go, I hope to post another video. Yeah, so this is what has been happening in my life outside of reading. I turned 65 in the past week, and on Sunday, when I went for my regular volunteering at the Gorge Narrows Rowing Club, we have this program for newcomers on water, and I help out with that. And for the first time, I was in a coach boat. So I'm learning how to do that, assisting rowers, and I've got my pleasure craft operator's license. So done all that in the past week. My friend Phyllis took me Saskatoon picking to celebrate my birthday. We went to a U-Pick farm that is up island here from Victoria, not very far. It was fantastic. I love picking berries. I love Saskatoons. So now I've got about 2.3 kilograms of Saskatoons in my freezer here. I did make Saskatoon scones. So this is the third in a series of berry scones, if you've been watching my channel. I did raspberry and I did blueberry scones, now Saskatoons. We'll see what's next. Very near the South Island Saskatoon farm, there's the Cowichan Creamery, and they have a cheese vending machine there, which I've talked about on this channel before. And since it was close by, we went there to stock up on cheese, and because it was the weekend, the actual little farm store was open, so we didn't have to rely on the cheese vending machine, and we paid a visit to the donkeys that are there. Nice little outing, and to top it all off, Phyllis took me for lunch at Mill Bay, so we had lunch right there on the water. It was lovely. So, further to my berry report, I passed by this food forest in the Banfield Park when I walk to and from the rowing club, so several times a week. And right now, the autumn olives are ripe. And so these are fruit trees that are for anyone to eat, the produce. And so I usually grab a few as I go by. It's starting to be that they're pretty high up. But the raspberry patch, you can sort of see behind me, it's right at the bottom of this garden. There's not very many raspberries left, and I think next week or the week after, we're going to get a new fence at the bottom of the garden. So I'm planning to cut back all of the canes that produced and give more room for the workers who are going to be building that fence. But speaking of raspberries, My friend in Brisbane, Robin, she sent me her mom's raspberry coconut slice recipe. And instead of using fresh raspberries, it uses raspberry jam. So I made a small batch of raspberry jam, made the coconut slice, and it was so good. My sweetie and I pretty much polished it off in 2 days. Wow, yeah, very good. And I made another batch of jam because loganberries are also in season, and the pint that I picked up, they were really quite ripe and weren't going to keep. So I ate some of them fresh, but made some into jam as well. And if you're not familiar with loganberries, they're actually a cross between raspberries and blackberries. So the taste is like the floral quality of raspberries with the earthy quality of blackberries. They are quite tart. Yeah, totally yummy. I love berries of all kinds. Oh, and blueberries. Blueberries are in season. They're everywhere. They're cheap. So I made another blueberry crisp, and I've got blueberries in the freezer too. Yeah, we are set. Okay, on to the books with Frida here to keep me company. I don't know how long she's going to stay. I'm going to start with a big, fat graphic novel. This is like 550 pages, The Field by David Lapp. I'm going to back up and tell you about this event that I've only just heard about on BookTube, and it's been going on for 13 years. So Sue Jackson actually started Big Book Summer on her book blog, and now it's hosted on YouTube here on BookTube, along with co-host Melinda of Web of Stories. So I will link information about Big Book Summer down in the show notes there. And this is encouraging us to read books that are 400 pages and more. So, all right. The Field by David Lapp, who is a Toronto cartoonist. And this is recounting a whole bunch of memories of one summer in the 1970s. And so he was just a small boy then. He's best friends with the boy next door, Jack, who gets him into all kinds of trouble. And Jack is actually kind of mean to him. He and his friends call David crybaby. They do things like they get him to light firecrackers and stuff while they're at a safe distance. Yeah, you know, those kinds of little boy things. One thing that this book does so well is evoke those long summer days when you're just off exploring. These boys look for mice in the field. They find baby rabbits and tadpoles, caterpillars, and the wonder of childhood discoveries. It's funny and a bit bittersweet. There's that feel of nostalgia. And the dedication is to another Canadian cartoonist, a very well-known cartoonist, Chester Brown. And it just happened that I got a card in the mail with a Chester Brown stamp on it. Thought that was kind of cool. This memoir reminded me very much of one by Gilbert Hernandez called Marble Season. So it's in the Eisner category of best graphic memoir. There are 5 in each of the many Eisner categories, and I decided to rate the ones where I'd read 5 or at least 4 in a category. So I'm going to do that now for the best graphic memoir because I've read them all. Now, interestingly, 4 out of the 5 are by Canadian cartoonists, which I think is pretty cool. And 2 of them are queer as well. I've talked about the rest of them on this channel. Now, I'm going to be talking about so many different graphic novels that I've covered on so many different videos that I'm not planning to link every one of those videos in the show notes, but let me know if you would like that. If so, then I will add them in. So all 5 in this category to me are 5-star reads. I recommend every single one of them. And the style in all of them is quite different. So even though I loved this, I'm putting it at 5th position. In number 4 position, I have Something, Not Nothing, a story of grief and love by Sarah Levitt, who is writing about her grief after her partner of more than 2 decades decides to die with a medically assisted death. Her partner was living with severe chronic pain for a really long time. The memoir captures emotions. It's all about the feelings and the beautiful art, not a lot of words. I'm going to say they're really good, probably for every book that I'm talking about here. But I've put it in 4th place. In number 3 position, I've got Degrees of Separation. I think it was just last week that I talked about that. A Decade North of 60 is the subtitle. It's by Alison McCreish, who's a Quebec writer. That book was published by Conundrum Press, and so is The Field. It's a Nova Scotia publisher. That's pretty cool that they've got 2 books shortlisted. Degrees of Separation. The art is done in pencil, and that one really brings setting to life. Living in the far north in a lot of different places in both Canada's north as well as Greenland and Scandinavia and Russia. Go back to the other video if you want to know more about Degrees of Separation. In 2nd place, the gay memoir by Maurice Vellecoupe, I'm So Glad We Had This Time Together. His art is outstanding. It's full color, and he's writing about growing up gay, starting from early childhood, and his very close relationship with his mother. So growing up in Toronto in the 1960s and 70s. So he's coming out as gay during the time of AIDS, and his Christian upbringing is something that he's always fighting against because of internalized homophobia. And this is just so brilliantly and poignantly portrayed in this memoir. Yes, I love it. But even more, I love a book that I've placed in number 1 position, which is Feeding Ghosts by Tessa Howells. So this is the only American book. It won a Pulitzer Prize and many other prizes. It really is outstanding. Tessa Howells has done a sort of multi-generational memoir biography for grandmother, her mother and herself. And it's also incorporating a Chinese history under Mao, and then in escape to Hong Kong, and then her mother settling in the United States. It's about mental illness. Oh, so many things. So well done. Oh, love, 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 love it. I really think that it is going to win the Eisner Award as well. These next two books are from the category Best Publication for Early Readers. Hilda and Twig, Hide from the Rain. It's by the British cartoonist Luke Pearson. This is actually 7th in a series, but you can start with this one. You don't need to read them all in order. It's about this pair of adventurers. It's cozy fantasy. It draws on Scandinavian mythology. It's great for all ages. And I would compare it to the Tea Dragon Society books by the non-binary New Zealand author Kay O'Neill. So if you like those, pick up these. It's a little bit spooky. There's always a happy ending. And a great message too about having courage. Night Stories, Folktales from Latin America, is by the Argentine cartoonist Liniers. That's the pen name for Ricardo Liniers' series. And what he's done is taken 3 Latin American folktales and incorporated them into a frame story of a brother and sister who are telling each other spooky stories at night. So they have a happier sort of twist ending than these stories normally would, because this book is aimed at readers in grades 4 to 6. But the back matter really adds a lot to this. So there's a foreword by David Bowles, and then after information as well, with more information about the 3 folktales. One of them is set in Brazil. That's the story of the mermaid. In this case, it's a pink dolphin. The mermaid who lures sailors to their death. This gives you an example of the humor. It starts out, once there was a captain of a ship. He was the only one on board, with no one else in charge. He could have made his monkey the captain, but that was not a good idea. You see, the monkey had very little maritime experience, but he was good company. And then there's these visual jokes, like you can see when this fellow who's normally carrying fruit, furniture, toys, and stuff like that, sometimes carries passengers, and you can see this pair of passengers joking around as if they're in the Titanic movie. The noses, look at the noses on these characters. You can see his very cartoony style. The images are done with India ink and watercolor. Delightful. So I've read all 5 in this category, and I recommend all 5 of them, but I'm going to rate them. I'm going to put Poetry Comics by Gary Snyder in 5th place. This is a very quiet collection of poetry. In 4th place, I've got Club Microbe by the Quebec author-illustrator Élise Gravel. It's translated from French by Montana Kane. an introduction to microbes for very young readers. Such a celebration. In third place, I've put Night Stories, mostly because the graphic novel part of it is really short. The back matter takes up a lot of space and is really important for this book. So, it's a 5-star book, but in a graphic novel category, that part is quite a bit more slight. In second place, I've got a Canadian book, Bog Myrtle, by the non-binary cartoonist Sid Sharp. This is a story of two sisters, a story of spiders and love of natural creatures and role reversal of monsters. Queerness shines through in this sort of hybrid picture book graphic novel. And in first place, I've got Hilda and Twig, Hide from the Rain. It's just fabulous. Next, I've got 3 that are in the category Best Single Issue / One Shot. So these are all very short, and they are all great. But since I've only read 3, I'm not going to rate them. These are the 3. Sunflowers by Keezy Young. Keezy is a queer cartoonist who lives in Seattle and uses they, them pronouns. They live with bipolar disorder, and that's what this graphic novel is about. It's only 28 pages long. They say it's written in hopes that more information will help individuals feel less alone and that understanding will counter fear and hatred. Finally, I have hope that people reading my story will help people have a little more empathy for those who are less lucky than I am, the people with bipolar disorder who end up in jail or homeless or gone. We're all just people, not monsters or tragedies. We all deserve hope. And it's beautifully illustrated. Next, I've got Peepee, Poopoo #1 by Caroline Cash. She is a queer cartoonist who currently lives in Philadelphia, formerly Chicago. So this is actually the 4th issue that she's done of Peepee Poopoo. I've talked about this comic before, but she has a very weird numbering system, so now it's #1. And it's her take on the classic 1960s underground comics, sort of slice of life humor that just really strikes my funny bone. And the 3rd best single issue one shot is this one, War on Gaza by Joe Sacco, who is a comics journalist. And this one was actually originally published in installments. Joe Sacco has published a number of nonfiction comics, including Footsteps in Palestine. So you can tell by the title, the topic of this. He's writing about American complicity in the genocide that is currently ongoing in Gaza. And he writes with such compassion and humor. His style does tend to be heavy on text. And one of the things that he includes in here that really struck me is talking about his mother, who's in her 80s now, and she grew up in Malta, So during the Second World War, she experienced the days and days and days of bombing going on there. And with the news stories about Gaza, she is reliving that, what it was like to be under constant bombardment. And so Joe and his sister have to be careful about when they're talking about what's going on in the war. It's just an example of that page. This slim volume is actually my favorite of all of the books that I'm going to be talking about in this video. Very, very powerful. And I hope that this one will win the one-shot category. Next, I've got another queer one. This one is in the Eisner Best Limited Series category. The only other one I've read in this category I talked about last week, and it was Helen of Windhorn. So, Zatanna, Bring Down the House. This is written by the Canadian writer Mariko Tamaki, who's queer, and the art is by a Spanish illustrator, Javier Rodríguez. It's published by DC, and it is in the superhero pantheon. Zatanna is somebody who believes that she has no magic, even though her father was a famous magician. She has lots of childhood trauma that is explored in this limited series. So it's issues 1 to 5 that are collected. And a really good narrative arc. Spoiler alert, yes, she does have magic. And it's a fun, fast action type of story. And I like these limited series because you're not always on a cliffhanger of, waiting for the next one to come out. And next, this is the 5th book that I've read in the category Best U.S. Edition of International Material. So this is Return to Eden by the Spanish cartoonist Paco Roca, and it was translated to English by Andrea Rosenberg. I have talked about his work before. I really, really like his style. His other books that I've read are Wrinkles, The House, and The Lighthouse. So in this one, Return to Eden, he's writing about his mother, Antonia, and her younger years during the Franco era, so the 1940s mostly. And just what it was like then. So this really evokes the era and the people in a large family living in poverty. And I'll just show you the style. It is in full color. I always know that I'm going to enjoy something by Paco Roca. The only one that I have not read out of the 5 is Sunday by Olivia Schrouwen, who's a Belgian cartoonist. And I did get this book out from the library. It's 474 pages, and it's covering one day in the life. And I just found it too overwhelming, although maybe at some time in the future I might pick it up. Let me know if you've read it. So the other 4, I'm going to rank them. In 4th place, Mothballs by Sole Otero, who's an Argentinian cartoonist. This is a 5-star read for me. All of the books in this category are 5-star reads. It was also translated by Andrea Rosenberg, so same translator as Return to Eden. And I'm actually quite excited that Otero has a new graphic novel coming out in October, translated to English in October, and it's called Witchcraft. And this one is about a sisterhood of witches and what happens over a number of centuries. So starting in the 1700s to present day. That sounds really good. In third place, All Princesses Die Before Dawn by Quentin Zutillon. It was translated by M.B. Valente. The art in here. So it's a 24-hour time period, and we're looking at romantic relationships between 3 different couples in it. The night that Lady Di died in Paris. This is set in somewhere else in France. During that time, it's great, quiet, loved it. But even more, I love the book that I've placed in second place, Jellyfish by Boom, a queer Quebec cartoonist. This was translated by Robin Lang and Helga Dasher. It's about an eye condition, a person who is having vision problems that are getting progressively worse, and queer relationships. It's really good. And in number 1 position, I've placed this one, but probably on a different day I might rate them differently because I don't know, maybe it's recency bias in this case, but they are all fantastic, and I really don't know which one is going to win the Eisner Award. I'd be happy to see any of them win, actually. But I've got one more book to tell you about. So, not my favorite, but this is one that is not one that is in the Eisner Awards list. I'm talking about The Love Report. It's number 1 in a series, and it's by BeKa, which is a pseudonym for a team, Bernard Eskeich and Carolyn Rock. So they're a writing team, and they worked with a Italian artist who goes by Maya. She's Martina Mura. And this was translated from French by Jessie Aufiery and Ivanka Hahnenberger. It's illustrated in manga style. It's about 2 girls who are BFFs in grade 6, Lola and Grace, and they want to know more about love. And when I picked this up, somehow I thought that this was going to be a sapphic story, just from the picture on the cover, and it's not. It's about heterosexual relationships that these 2 girls are writing about. So they're studying their fellow students and a little bit about the adults in their life as well. It's fine, you know, it's well done, but not what I was expecting. That's the only drawback for me as a reader. And that's all I've got for you today. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate hearing from you. So please do say hello in the comments down below. Let me know if you are a fan of comics format, and stick around if you want to see a very short little clip of the deer that I encountered when I was walking to a meeting earlier this week. Thanks again. Happy reading, everybody. Bye for now.